Okay, Annika's been fantastic for us all
Yeah,
morning
she has.
long.
She's been having fun out there.
Okay, sometimes you need a little, I don't know, quick cash. One place that some will find that is their 401k. That can lead to a situation where you can borrow against your 401k and you pay yourself back.
Yeah, so we're here with financial expert Jenny Groberg to talk about the pros and cons of that plan. She's CEO and founder of Booksmart's Accounting and Bookkeeping. First, let's talk about the difference real quick between a withdrawal and a loan, basically.
Okay, so a loan, you're gonna borrow against it, and then you'll be able to repay it. But the terms are you have to repay it within 5 years. You can't really borrow more than $50,000 or 50% of the equity in your 401k. Okay, so that is borrowing against it versus I want to take money out of my 401k. Maybe you've lost your job, maybe you're in a bind without any intent to pay it back, and you're going to pay income tax on it and a 10% withholding fee penalty if you're under 59 and a half.
Okay, that's the difference.
Yeah. Okay, so my husband and I just borrowed against our 401k to buy a car because we would rather pay ourselves the interest than pay a bank the interest. Not a good idea. It's too late. We already did it.
Yeah. So as I was leaving the segment a few weeks ago, Mary asked me this, and I said, let's talk about this because 18% of Americans borrow against their 401k, and on average, it's about 10 grand. Okay, so I want to talk about what are maybe some of the pros and why you should never, ever, ever borrow against your 401k.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the pros. We do have a graphic here that we want to bring up. Potential benefits here.
Yep. These are the benefits. So when you go to borrow against your 401k, they're not going to check your credit. It's quick. Like I said, you can borrow about 50% of the balance, usually up towards 50 grand. It doesn't affect your credit score, and the interest rate is usually 5 to 7%. So you might think, oh, that's way better, than if I need a down payment on a home. Maybe I'll borrow against my 401k, and that's some quick cash. I'm gonna still be at my job in 5 years. This is no problem. Or maybe that's easier than getting a car loan, having it affect your credit, all the things. So,
one more quick graphic before we go on, and you mentioned it earlier. How many people are using this?
18% of people have a loan of about $10,000.
That's more than I imagined, I guess. So a lot of people are doing this.
So a lot of people look at it as a short-term savings account.
Okay. They made a dumb idea like that. Dumb decision.
Okay, but I don't think a lot of people know why it's catastrophic. Okay, so let's look at the reasons. I think you have a
so these are reasons that you say this is usually a bad idea, right?
Okay, so let's go through these. So the first is the lost investment growth. Okay, so let's say you think, oh great, 5 to 7% interest for my 401k. I'll borrow against it, that's no problem. However, last year the S&P had a return of 25%.
Okay.
So if you pull money out of your 401k,
it's not making money. And every 7 years, your money will usually double in the stock market. So if you pull it out and you use it for other things, it's not compounding, it's not growing, and it can be doubling. So you might think short term, oh, I'm paying myself interest, but really it's that opportunity cost where you're not utilizing the growth, the compounding interest, and all of the other things. Okay. So see that.
Let's go to number 2, risk of job loss and repayment. So most people don't stay in their job 5 years. Okay, so if you're borrowing against a 401k that your employer is sponsoring, if you lose your job or you quit, it triggers a repayment. So you have to repay that 401k loan before the next tax period. So that might be April 15th. If you extend, you might have till September 15th. So I'd probably extend to give you a little bit more time, but most people don't love their jobs and don't stay in them 5 years. So if you borrow against your 401k, you are stuck in that job. You are bound to that employer, even if you're not happy, even if you could get paid. So it might be limiting in your employment, in your pay, all those things.
I've been here 34 years, so I need to sign another contract to finish paying off my 401k loan.
Okay.
Double taxation.
Double taxation is the other thing. So usually you contribute to your 401k. It's not a Roth IRA. It's a 401k with pre-tax dollars.
Right.
Okay. So let's say you borrow against your 401k. You're paying yourself back, right? But you're paying that loan back with post-tax dollars.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I see.
And then when you go to retire and you pull that money out, you're getting taxed again.
So you're getting taxed twice. So if you borrow against your 401k, one, you pay back that loan with post-tax dollars, so you're getting taxed there. Then when you pull the money out, you're getting taxed again. So just for the double taxation, you don't want to borrow against your 401k.
Okay. And the last one on there was, can encourage bad financial habits.
It absolutely encourages bad financial habits. What it does is it makes you feel like, oh, I have this little nest egg I can access. That's not the case. This should be out of mind, out of sight. You should never even consider this as an option. You 100% never take a loan or withdrawal against your 401k. There was one instance where I saw someone do that to go to rehab. Their life was on the line, and I felt like, yeah, that's probably a good reason to use it. But they would have had those withdrawal penalties and the taxation. So I would absolutely not borrow against it. Work on your emergency fund, work on a savings account. If you don't have the money, don't do it. But for sure, don't use your 401k.
That's our last graphic, actually. You had better alternatives, essentially. Go through some of these.
Okay, so the alternatives is get your emergency fund. So 3 to 6 months. I'd really say get 12 months. And then put it in a high yield savings account. We talked about that in another segment. But have that money in a high yield savings account. Don't buy things that you don't have the cash for. So if you do need to borrow, don't borrow. Save up until you have it. Third thing would be get to work. If you don't have that cash, hurry and get a second job, sell some stuff in your home, try to get some cash together to do it. And if it's an absolute catastrophic emergency, I would say use your home equity line of credit before I would tap into your retirement.
Okay.
Yeah. Because then there's so many other issues like the double taxation, the compounding interest. So it would be better
The need to repay if you, okay.
To have a
lot
loan.
of reasons. I wish I would have known this 3 weeks ago.
We
Sorry, Mary.
And as it is, I went to my husband and I said, we could borrow against the 401k and then we pay ourselves. And he's like, that's a great idea.
I remember
like,
my
no, we
parents
need to talk
doing
to
the
Jenny.
same thing. They wanted to get four-wheelers, and they're like, this is great. We'll borrow against our 401k and pay ourselves back.
well, nearly 20% of people are
Yeah.
doing it. So
yeah, one in
to Jenny
5, it's
first.
a lot.
talk to Jenny first. Hey, we want to ask you if you have any financial questions for Jenny. She visits us here about every other week
Every
and
week.
always schools us on all kinds of different things. But let us know. What's our email?
KUTV.com.
arc@kutv.com.
Yeah,
Send
email
us an
us.
email.
Yeah.
Ask what you want to know about, and we will send them to
Yeah,
her.
because usually I leave and everyone's saying, hey, what about this? What about this? We have a
Just like
question
last
about this,"
time.
which is super fun, and then it helps me to be able to tailor my content
Okay.
around issues that people are actually needing answers
So
to.
email us and just say, hey, I have a question for Jenny, and let us know what it is, and
Yeah.
we'll send it off.
Follow us on social. I am at Booksmarts Pro is my work social.
Okay.
And you can follow ARC TV and DM us and ask those
Okay,
questions.
Cool.
perfect.
Thanks, Jenny.
Okay, thanks.